Now we will talk about Chapter 8 Reciprocal Arrangements for Assistance in Certain Matters and Procedure for Attachment and Forfeiture of Property. 111 talks about definitions. 112 Letter of request to compel authority for investigation in a country or place outside India. 113 Letter of request from a country or place outside India to a court or an authority for investigation in India. 114 Assistance in securing transfer of persons. 115 Assistance in relation to order of attachment or forfeiture of property. 116 Identifying unlawfully acquired property. 117 Seizure or attachment of property. 118 Management property seized or forfeited under this chapter. 119 Notice of forfeiture of property. 120 Forfeiture of property in certain cases. 121 Fine in lieu of forfeiture. 122 Certain transfer to be null and void. 123 Procedure in respect of letter of request. 124 Application of this chapter. Now we will talk about chapter 9 Security for keeping the place and for good behavior. Security for keeping the peace and for good behavior. Section 125 talks about security for keeping peace on conviction. 126 Security for keeping peace in other cases. And 127 talks about security for good behavior from persons disseminating certain matters. 128 Security for good behavior from suspected persons. And 129 talks about security for good behavior from habitual offenders. Now we will talk about 130. 130 section talks about order to be made. 131 Procedure in respect of person present in court. 132 Summon or warrant in case of person not so present. 133 Copy of order to accompany summon or warrant. 134 Power to dispense with personal attendance. 135 Inquiry as to truth of information. 136 Order to give security. 137 Discharge of person informed against. 138 Commencement of period for which security is required. 139 Contents of bond. 140 Power to reject sureties. 141 Imprisonment in default of security. 142 Power to release persons imprisoned for failing to give security. 143 Security for unexpired period of bond. Now we will talk about chapter 10 Order for maintenance of wives, children and parents. 144 section talks about order for maintenance of wives, children and parents. 145 Procedure. 146 Alteration in allowance. 147 Enforcement of order of maintenance. Now chapter 11 Maintenance of public order and tranquility. A talks about unlawful assembly. Section 148 Dispersal of assembly by use of civil force. 149 Use of armed forces to disperse assembly. 150 Power of certain armed force officers to disperse assembly. 151 Protection against prosecution for act done under section 148, 149 and 150. B talks about public nuisance. 152 Conditional order for removal of nuisance. 153 Service or notification of order. 154 Person to whom order is addressed to obey or show cause. 155 Penalty for failure to comply with section 154. 156 section talks about procedure where existence of public right is denied. 157 Procedure where person against whom order is made under section 152 appears to show cause. 158 section talks about power of magistrate to direct local investigation and examination of an expert. 159 Power of magistrate to furnish written instructions etc. 160 procedure on order being made absolute and consequences of disobedience. 161 injunction pending inquiry. 162 magistrate may prohibit repetition or continuance of public nuisance. C. Urgent cases of nuisance or apprehended danger. 163 power to issue order in urgent cases of nuisance or apprehended danger. Now D talks about disputes as to immovable property. Section 164 procedure where dispute concerning land or water is likely to cause breach of peace. 165 power to attach subject or of dispute and to appoint receiver. 166 dispute concerning right of use of land or water. 167 local inquiry. Now we will talk about chapter 12, preventive action of the police. Section 168 talks about police to prevent cognizable offences. 169 information of design to commit cognizable offences. 170 arrest to prevent commission of cognizable offence. 171 prevention of injury to public property. 172 person bound to inform to lawful direction of police. Now we will talk about chapter 13, information to the police and their powers to investigate. Section 173 talks about information in cognizable cases. 174 information as to non-cognizable cases and investigation of such cases. 175 police officers power to investigate cognizable cases. 176 procedure for investigation. 177 report how submitted. 178 power to hold investigation or preliminary inquiry. 179 police officers power to require attendance of witnesses. 180 examination of witnesses by police. 181 statements to police and use thereof. 182 no inducement to be offered. 183 recording of confessions and statements. 184 medical examination of victim of rape. 185 search by police officer. 186 when officer in charge of police station may require another to issue search warrant. 187 procedure when investigation cannot be completed in 24 hours. 188 report of investigation by subordinate police officer. 189 release of accused when evidence deficient. 190 cases to be sent to magistrate when evidence is sufficient. 191 complainant and witnesses not to be required to accompany police officer and not to be subject to restraint. 192 diary of proceeding in investigation. 193 report of a police officer on completion of investigation. 194 police to inquire and report on suicide, etc. 195 power to summon persons. 196 inquiry by magistrate into cause of death. Now we will talk about chapter 14, jurisdiction of the criminal courts in inquiries and trials. Section 197 talks about ordinary place of inquiry and trial. 198 place of inquiry or trial. 199 offence triable where act is done or consequence ensues. 200 place of trial where act is an offence by reason of relation to other offences. 201 place is trial in case of certain offences. 202 offences committed by means of electronic communications, letter, etc. 203 offence committed on journey or voyage. 204 place of trial for offences triable together. 205 power to order cases to be tried in different sessions divisions. 206 High Court to decide in case of doubt district where inquiry or trial shall take place. 207 power to issue summon or warrant for offence committed beyond local jurisdiction. 208 offence committed outside India. 209 receipt of evidence relating to offences committed outside India. Chapter 15, conditions requisite for initiation of proceedings. 210 cognizance of offences by magistrate. 211 transfer on application of accused. 212 making over of cases to magistrate. 213 cognizance of offences by court of session. 214 additional session judge to try cases made over to them. 215 prosecution for contempt of lawful authority of public servants for offences against public justice and for offences relating to documents given in evidence. 216 section talks about procedure for witnesses in case of threatening, etc. 217 prosecution for offences against state and for criminal conspiracy to commit such offences. 218 prosecution of judges and public servants. 219 prosecution for offence against marriage. 220 prosecution of offences under section 85 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. 221 cognizance of offences. 222 prosecution of defamation. Now we will talk about next chapter 16.